Morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Out's here, and it's Friday. Freak out. And I'm freaking out for two reasons, and they're other than the Raptors. Normally, we cover the Raptors on this channel very heavily, but today we're going to be talking about two other teams that I'm going to be covering very soon and in the very near future. And that is our WNBA Toronto team and our Raptors 905 G League team. Two important things happening. First of all, the Raptors 905 will begin their regular season. Well, it's not their regular season, it's the cup part of the season tomorrow. And it's a real game, and they'll be playing against the Delaware Bluecoats at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And then there was news that came out this week about the WNBA team, but people missed it. They didn't hear it. So I'm going to put it on blast on the stream today. And it's basically this. Now, we've been waiting in anticipation for WNBA team to be named, to get our colors, to get our logos, all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to tell you guys this. They have them. They are figured out. They had to submit them to the league, the WNBA, by November the 1st. And, well, that stuff is all done, but they haven't released any of it to the public. It is very much private and highly secretive right now what they've decided and submitted to the WNBA head office. They don't want to release it now. This is what they said this week, that they're going to wait to reveal to the public what they've come up with until January. So that's the big news that I have to say. They've finished the process. In some ways, I know why they're doing this. It's because they want to get ahead and ready to make the merchandise available as soon as they announce it. They could have announced the name, the logo, the colors, the jerseys. They could have announced them as soon as they came up with them, but there's no manufacturing of the products to sell to the public immediately. This is something that kind of happened with the Raptors in the very, very beginning 30 years ago, where they announced the name of the team and all this stuff, but nothing was available to buy, like a shirt or a hat or something like that. So I really do feel like this is the main reason why they are not revealing it to us right when they have actually submitted it to the WNBA proper, as far as what our team name and stuff is. But they are officially going to name our team in January, guys. So we've got 2 more months until we're going to find out what our WNBA team's name is and their colors and their jerseys. And it's very much because of what I just said, I'm sure. So, yeah, their deadline to get all this stuff in was the beginning of this month. But we didn't hear anything publicly. So I'm like, what is going on here? And I was like, well, it would make sense that they don't want to announce everything publicly and ruin the freshness and the momentum of naming it without having products ready to go to people to represent it. And I think that's exactly what it is. I'm so curious. In some ways, this is something that's being held in utmost secrecy. And there's probably people involved in working on it that have absolutely sworn a confidential statement to not reveal any of the details about our WNBA team and what it's going to be like, or the colors or the name or anything like that. But yeah, there is a name out there, and they're working with it very closely and shaping it right now in secrecy. And the public will find out in January. So that's the news on the WNBA front, guys. This all been decided, a lot of it. They may be fine-tuning some of it a little bit, but the WNBA has received their proposal and has received their identity that they want to have and the colors and everything like that. And, well, I don't know. I haven't heard officially if they've approved any of it, but it's not like they'll announce it to us that they've approved the stuff, On the same token, the Toronto PWHL team, the Toronto Scepters, has released their home and away jerseys this week. They're not bad looking jerseys. I just think that they just did a really bad job of naming the team. And it's really just once they get to this point and they've got the name out, they can't really go back and change it. I just feel like it was a really dumb move to name it after something like royal and British and that kind of stuff. But maybe, well, it's hockey. Maybe it does fit, Lex. Colonialism, genocide, a horrible part of the history of this country. Yeah, let's go ahead and celebrate it by naming our teams the Scepters and putting it all about like royal families and bullshit like that. Yeah, that's annoying. But I like the colors, the way they pop, the blue and the yellow and the little bit of white on their jerseys. The jerseys don't look bad. It's just that I feel like the name was stupid. In some ways, the name Scepter is not that attractive, honestly. In some ways, it connotates like tools that a doctor uses on you when you're in surgery. In some ways, it kind of it's like the SCEP is not the most like alliterative or like also like it's an awkward word, honestly. Some people may try and spell scepters without the C's, and then it's like just far off from septic tanks. I don't know. I feel like they did a very poor job naming the women's hockey team for Toronto. I really do, and I don't think that they really put enough forethought into things like what the connotations of the whole realm of the word scepters is. I know that Teresa and the WNBA team for Toronto is going to do a much better job naming our team so that it doesn't have any kind of dumb controversy like this before they even start playing. And it's gonna because they're probably way better at their jobs than the PWHL people that are involved, as far as like thinking things through and not just like, oh yeah, let's do this and do this. Yeah, I'm excited to find out what our WNBA team's gonna be called, but we'll have to wait 2 more months at least until January at some point. They'll release it all, and I'll bet you they'll have the stuff ready for us to buy right away, and that'll be fun. I'll look forward to buying some gear for our WNBA team and repping it on this channel. That's right. So that's my news about the WNBA that I wanted to tell you guys is that it's probably all been figured out. It's very much in secret and not able to be revealed to the public right now. And we have to wait for 2 months still to find out what the actual name is. So there's your news. Now, the other part of things is the 905 are starting their season tomorrow, and I'm freaking out about it. I'm freaking out because I'm excited about watching the G League Raptors play this season because they have a lot of promising young talent and they should compete very well. In fact, I think that the G League is going to have a very successful season, our team, and that it may make up more for the Raptors being kind of not a very good team in the Eastern Conference this year in the NBA. So a lot of my focus and enthusiasm and maybe some of my will to want one of our teams to win is going to go towards Andrew Jones's team that's going to be playing at Paramount Fine Food Center this season. So yeah, they finalized the roster for the Raptors 905. They made 4 difficult cuts, and I have that on my spreadsheet. If you guys want to see it, let me get the link real quick, and I'll put it in there, and you guys can look at how it all broke down in the end with our team and who's on it. And the names in red are the guys who got cut. And because we added Charlie Brown late to training camp and he made the team, Charlie Brown is going to be playing for 905 this year. Charlie Brown, of course, has been in the league for a couple of years. He was on Philadelphia for a while. He's been kind of bouncing around different Eastern Conference teams in the last few years. Of course, he's a vet that's been in the NBA to a certain extent, so he knows the ropes and he's been around. But yeah, Charlie Brown, good grief, Snoopy. We've got Charlie Brown playing for us this year. But yeah, there's the link. Let me see. Did I put it in there right? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so yeah, if you want to click and look at that, that's going to show you exactly who's on our team. Now, the red names were the ones who got cut, and Charlie Pride did get cut, unfortunately. Vance Jackson Jr., the other draft pick. This happens, actually. It's like the draft picks in the G League draft don't necessarily make the team. It's just that Luke Wynn wants to have the rights to these guys, bring them in, see how they do. And if they're not competing well enough with the other people, well, they get cut. But our first draft pick, the G League draft this year, Tyler Perry, did make the team. Of course, he was on our summer league team, and he had a foot in the door. And our Raptors officials had liked him already from what they saw in summer league, even though he didn't play a whole lot. But yeah, Charlie Pride and Vance Jackson Jr., the later picks in the G League draft this summer, ended up getting cut, along with Canadian Devontae Bandu, who made a appearance in the washroom versus bathroom clip. And he was the one Canadian guy saying, yeah, I don't know why they call it a bathroom. There's no bath in the room. And, and I don't know why they have a problem with the wash, because, you wash your hands in the washroom or the bathroom. Either way, they're synonymous. They're the same word. And I don't understand why people are getting all bent out of shape, whether you call it the restroom, the washroom, the bathroom, the little girl's room, the little boy's room, the loo, the John, the whatever you want to call the damn place. It's a place where there's a toilet and you put piss and shit in it. And that's what it is. Sorry for my crassness. But yeah, that's what I see there. The big center, Chris Vaught, got cut too, which is, in some ways I don't like that. I kind of want more depth at the big man in different ways. And even if this guy wasn't one of the better players in training camp, I think having an extra center around, an extra 7-footer around just in case is good. But maybe this guy wasn't up to snuff, and that was part of the reason why he got cut. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff on there. And of course, you see the two ways at the bottom, and then the 905 eligible players like our rookies, Jonathan, Jamal, and Jacoby. And then, of course, Grady and Oshire also eligible for playing on the 905 without any repercussions. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be awesome. We're going to have our first doubleheader of the year as far as 905 and the Raptors playing on the same day. And we'll do like a preview for both teams tomorrow. I'll have the ref report for the 905 also. And the games will start at 6. We'll watch the 905 at 6 p.m. And then after that, of course, the late time for the West Coast, the Clippers game for the Raptors will be on after that. So they won't be overlapping. We could watch both games in a row and not have any kind of thing. Now, some people would say Saturday night, man, I want to go out. I'm going to do that. Well, you go live your life. You go live your life. But the Raptors freak, well, he's a freak about the Raptors. And he's going to be watching about 5 hours of basketball on that night because both his teams are playing. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited about 905. I really am. I'm juiced about it. And of course, this first part of the season is the cup part of the season where they play like 12 or 16 games, something like that. And it all is kind of like the in-season tournament format. So if we win a certain amount of games, we get to go to Vegas and compete for the cup, the G League Cup. And then after that cup's over, and this is around like New Year's, they start the regular season for the 905 in the G League next year in 2025. So yeah, that's kind of breaking it down what to expect with Raptors 905 G League, and check out my spreadsheet so you can actually look at the roster of who's involved with 905. All right, Mo's here. Let's see what Monique, the super fan Lawrence, is saying this morning. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Let's go 905. That's right. Let's go to the game. I know, Mo, you said you probably won't be able to go to the game, but we are planning to go to a 905 game early in December. The 8th of December is a Sunday at 2 p.m. They'll be playing the Westchester Knicks at the Paramount 5 Food Center, and it's going to be an official Raptor Freak hangout game where I'll be in attendance, and hopefully many Raptor Freaks will be there also. We can watch the game together and check out what it's like to be at Paramount 5 Food Center rooting for our G League team. So I hope that you can make it, and you don't have to do any RSVP or anything. If you just have the time, you that day set aside it, and come on down and say, "Hey, Raptor Freak, Lex, what's up, man?" And we'll go to the game and we'll hang out and watch the game and have a good positive time. How about that? How about that? Let's go. December 8th, 2 o'clock, Paramount 5 Food Center. I would say the game's starting at 2, so rendezvous maybe around 1:30 and have a little bit of time ahead of time. I like to get the games earlier. This is something that Mike Roach went off on last week. Mike Roach is a fantastic broadcaster with the Raptors. He's a production assistant for the main broadcast, and he's also been the co-host of Hustle Play with Chris Boucher. And Mike Roach is a very opinionated person. He's got his own podcast, and in some ways he's got some of the characteristics of a guy like Chev and myself, where he likes to go on rants, and he's very passionate about things. He recently did a rant about the games at Scotiabank Arena and the crowd not being very good this year. Well, there's a couple of symptoms for this. He's saying that he wants the fans to get down there early, which I completely agree. This is something that is important for building energy. And in fact, a lot of the games this season coming into the arena when the team's coming out and they're announcing coming out to the court now, the Raptors, the arena is very empty. And in some ways, I've seen in the past where they come out, it's in full of effect, and there's quite a fullness to the lower bowl. Well, people are just not showing up. In some ways, this is partly that the team's losing, partly that it's a rebuild, partly that the ticket prices have been raised. That's a big part of it because Mike Roach is yelling, why aren't the real fans here? Why do we have such quiet fans in the lower bowl? Well, it's because The real fans are priced out to a degree, and there's a lot of casuals that are getting in those seats. And yeah, it's just a problem. I don't know how you solve it. Lower the ticket prices, maybe do some of the stuff like Steve Ballmer's doing out at Intuit Dome, where you have a fan section that's lower priced, and you have to be wearing the Raptors gear instead of any Lakers or any other teams like Denver or whatever. Recently, there's a couple of solutions to this. But instead, MLSE is going to renovate the building and spend a whole bunch of money on stuff that honestly, in some ways, wasn't worth doing. To me, in my opinion, didn't really need to be done, and then raise the ticket prices. And well, this is the effect. And Mike's really mad. He's like, "Well, you guys need to come to the game. Where are the real fans? Come and show up for the Raptors." Well, the team is not winning, and the ticket prices were raised on a team that isn't winning. And some of the fans are just like, "I'm not coming." It's just that simple. But I commend Mike Roach for saying people need to get there and get loud and be there early, because I do agree with this. Whether it's at the beginning of the game, whether it's at halftime, coming from their seats at the start of the third quarter, these are periods of time where the fans could be out and doing other things or not really being engaged in the game, and that's no good. He cites the Madison Square Garden as a good example of where the fans being in their seats and being there when the game starts and being there early and stuff like that. They don't mess around in that arena. And as you got to look at it as like a Mervish production. If you're going to go down the Princess of Wales and watch some play or something like Scotty loves to do, you're supposed to be in your seat when the show starts. You're not supposed to be coming through the aisle in the dark, messing up people's ability to watch the show. It's part of the respect of it. In the beginning of the Raptors history, the fans used to sit like it was dinner theater and politely just clap and just like not make hardly any noise or anything like that. Well, if you're going to act like that, let's show up like it's dinner theater, be there on time and in your seat when it starts. Just like if you were going to see Wicked or Cats or some other Broadway play. That's what I say to that. But yeah, we could do better as fans as far as being there and showing up for our team and being there loud. The other thing is shaming people for being loud is got to stop. You're at a sporting event and you're supposed to get loud in the arena. And when people get loud and you in your section and you're kind of turning around looking at them and giving them dirty eyes, you're the one who's in the wrong, because the people that are getting loud are there to be there for their team. So don't look at somebody who's being loud at the game as obnoxious or annoying. You should look at yourself in the mirror and say, why the hell am I not getting loud like they are? That's what I would say that. But Mike Roach, thank you for your rant. Even if misguided at who you're attacking, the fans, don't attack the fans. Attack your own company and ask them why ticket prices are so high, MLSC. That's what I'd say to Mike Roach on that one. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Either way, I love to see the passion from Mike. And I miss the Hustle Play podcast deeply, deeply do miss that podcast. It's too bad. We've been losing more and more great Raptors content in the last couple of years. We've now lost Raptors Tonight. I understand why they don't want to do Raptors Tonight this year. It's because who the hell wants to stay up later and talk about the Raptors after the game? In some ways, the format for Raptors Tonight is demanding on the Raptors media people. They have to hang out at Real Sports and eat that great food and hang out and listen to Randy Urban's bullshit. And they're like, you know what? I'd rather just go home. I'd rather just get ahead of the traffic and try and get back to the house. And especially this season, it's going to be a lot of losses. And, hanging out after the game and eating some food at Real Sports with Randy Urban's just not that appealing. Alvin wants to go home. Alvin wants to go home. And dear Paul Jones, always staying after and being on that show all the time, doing double duty. So it's weird. I don't know what they're going to do with it. As Monique found out talking to Randy last week at the game, that they don't know what they're going to do with Raptors Tonight. So we're losing shows. But I'll tell you right now, this one will continue as long as I can do it. And nobody's going to mess with me. Yeah, so don't worry. You won't lose the Raptor Freak show, but we're losing Hustle Play. We're losing Raptors Tonight. And it's kind of sad. I want to have more Raptors media. And in some ways, when we're shrinking it and there's not as much out there, oh, that's no good. I don't like that. Monique is saying the Fred VanVleet recently interviewed. He just said we have to bring it up. Okay. Fred VanVleet appeared on Draymond Green's podcast this week with Baron Davis and Draymond Green. And it's a fantastic interview. I watched it last night. Freddie is so just amazing, honestly. And he had some really tough questions thrown at him by Draymond, and he handled them with grace and dignity. Freddie really is enjoying being on the Rockets. Freddie opened up about a lot of stuff that had to do with the Raptors. And he said some very surprising things in some ways. Fred talked about Scott and playing with Scotty for 2 years. And he said that he made some mistakes when he was playing with Scotty. But it's not what you guys think. And I'm going to tell you guys this. A lot of people thought the problem with Fred and Scotty was that they didn't get along, that they didn't really jive together. But that's not true. Scotty is a team player. First of all, Scotty is not like his own fans that want so much for him and only think about him. He's not like that. He's exactly opposite of that. He's a team guy, and he wants everybody to be happy. And he never had any issue with Fred. Now, the Scotty fans had an issue with Fred because he was chucking shots and being overused with Nick Nurse's isolation systems and what Nick Nurse was directing them to do. But instead of directing their anger at Nick Nurse for calling the plays for Fred VanVleet instead of Scotty Barnes, they got mad at Fred, which was totally not fair. Honestly, it was totally not fair because Fred's just a good soldier. He shows up to work and he does what his coach tells him to do. And I think that's the thing that most people that were mad at Fred before Scotty were just not getting. Now, there's more details that come out about this whole Fred and Scotty thing. As far as, Freddie, when Scott first showed up, he was a little immature. Let's just put it that way. I mean, we know he played a lot of Twitch the summer after his rookie year, and we hung out with him and watching him play video games for most of that summer. Well, him and Champagnie and Delano were kind of an immature rookie cohort, and they were not taking their NBA careers as seriously as they should have. It shows with Champagnie and his route, and now where he has gone from Sioux Falls to all around to being on the Washington Wizards at this point. It showed with Delano Banton, kind of spinning his wheels a little bit on our team for a little while, and now he's gone off to Portland. But he's doing well, and he's still in the league. Well, these guys were not doing things the pro way for our team. And Fred didn't like it at first. And in some ways, he kind of tried to be the leader on the team, the vet, to teach the young people and mentor them. But he was rejected as the leader by those guys. They didn't take him seriously. And I don't know if Nick Nurse didn't step up and back up Fred and say, guys, you need to listen to Fred. Fred knows what he's talking about. Something like that. Someone was disconnected as far as allowing the veteran to be the respected leader that could help guide these guys to become better pros in their first year. So what happened was Fred got frustrated. Fred threw his hands up and said, well, I'm going to just not try and talk to them and try and help them anymore in that kind of way as a vet. So he laid off on trying to do that. And he had a more positive approach as far as, you know what, I'm going to just let these guys be these guys. And if I see stuff going on, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them make their own mistakes and lie in them. Well, he regrets doing that. In fact, he found out by the end of the tenure with the Raptors, he said, you know what, if I have one regret about what I did in the last 2 years is that I wasn't harder on my guys, on my rookies. I shut up and I didn't say things to them when I should have. And this is what he took his learning lesson going to the Rockets. That in some ways, the lessons of how he handled Scotty in the 2 years, first 2 years of Scotty and being his veteran, he failed because in some ways he tried to talk to these guys. They rejected him as telling him what to do. And then he just gave up and he stopped with the going back and forth and teaching them. And he feels bad about that because he said, in some ways, I don't need to be their friend. I don't need to be somebody that's popular. I can be this asshole to them on the team and the vet, and they'll respect me more, and hopefully they'll listen to me. And that's the thing he learned, is that in some ways I need to not pussyfoot around and just try and feed their egos and just kind of go around. I need to say the hard things that they need to hear, and that's important. So when he went to the Rockets, he started with that approach, and he's getting a lot further with it. People like Jalen Sangoon, Jabari Smith, falling in line and listening to Fred. And it really, really helps that he has Coach M.A. to back him up. And also, in some ways, M.A.'s mentality is very similar to Fred's. It's like no bullshit, no filter. You fucked up. I'm going to tell you, you need to fucking fix things and stuff like that. I'm not here to babysit you. You better fucking get your act in gear. That's kind of how Udoka is. And with Fred like that as the leader and the point guard for that team, it's reinforced. So I think that in some ways we got to illuminate the situation for casual Raptors Nation and people that just have the totally crazy ideas about what happened with what was going on with the Raptors the last couple of years of Fred VanVleet. That he wanted to be that stern, tough leader. He couldn't be, so he gave up. And in some ways, he says that was the wrong move to make, because in some ways, Scotty did not benefit from that kind of just giving up and walking away from it kind of stance. That there would have been more ground covered with Scott, possibly with his development and getting to higher levels in the NBA, if they had let Fred be that kind of leader for him. But it just wasn't to be. Freddie made it very clear that the last year of being on the Raptors was not fun. In that interview with Draymond, he said, yeah, being on the Raptors at near the end, it was not fun at all. And honestly, when Draymond asked him, would you have re-signed with the Raptors? That's somebody said, well, listen, the writing was on the wall. The changing of the guard was happening, and it just wasn't a realistic thing that was going to happen. You know, a lot of people are mad at Fred for selling out and going to Houston to take $40 million a year, but they don't understand that the Raptors were not in any kind of serious position to try and bring Fred back. It's not like Fred stabbed us in the back and took off on us. It was a natural changing of the guard that needed to happen with our franchise. And that's another line that gets me really mad when people start saying, well, Fred gave up on us and he took off on us. No, this was a natural shifting of the franchise and its roster, and it needed to happen, whether it was an Anunoby, whether it was Siakam, whether it was Fred before them. So it's really great that Fred's so outspoken and honest. And that interview's top notch. There's so much in it that's so good. I mean, there's so much, and we'll talk about more of it, but I wanted to make sure I got out this whole thing about Fred and understanding exactly what the issue was. He wanted to be that tough leader as a vet for our young rookies at that time. It didn't go over well, so he gave up and he just went on autopilot, and he stopped trying to tell Scotty and Delano what to do. And, that's a problem. In some ways, Nick Nurse's fault, too, because he's the coach and he should establish leadership roles and who people should be listening to. And obviously, Freddie and Kyle were two people that Nick Nurse really believe in and think are top-notch leaders. Well, he should have been telling these young players, you need to listen to your vets and not goof around and stuff like that. This isn't really Scotty's fault, because in some ways, Scotty coming into the league was just a young kid. He was ignorant and immature in some ways, and he's grown since then. In some ways, the perspective that Scott has about all this is, I've never had a problem with Freddie. I thought Freddie was awesome to play with. He's my vet, and I still love him to this day. That's how he feels about it. But in some ways, Fred feels like he let Scott down by not being tougher love on him. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's a really, really good interview. Draymond actually doesn't bug me as much in this interview because he's kind of making fun of himself during it. And they make fun of him for losing to Fred and us in the championship year of 2019. And Draymond's a character, but Freddie was awesome in that interview. Y'all need to watch it. Seriously, if you're a Raptors fan, you need to watch the Draymond Green podcast with Baron Davis with Fred VanVleet this week. It's a very, very good episode. Very, very good episode. Most saying, as I said yesterday, I didn't have Evan Gilliard on the 905 roster, and I don't think you did either. Yeah, I initially said this is who I think they're going to cut, and Gilliard was on that list of the names that I thought that they would cut, and partly because of his size, being 5'10", and I think also his age is not exactly the right age. He's 26, so he's a bit older, but I guess he must have been really steady. The other thing that's interesting about who they picked for the 905 roster, Monique, is that it's very point guard heavy. Maybe this does show the signs that Neil is right, that Jamal Shed may not be playing on the 905 very much because there are quite a few point guards down there. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that Evan Gilliard survived the cuts. And also Tyreek Key. He's another one that I thought would get cut too. Tyreek Key out of Tennessee, 6'2" guard. Tried out for the team. He actually went to the 905 tryouts. He showed up on that day when they had the 905 tryouts, and he made the team, guys. So that's what I'm saying. There is a player on the 905 this year that went to the tryouts that Saturday, paid the fee to come in, and he is on the team now. And that is Tyreek Key, just so you guys know. He was one in the tryouts that day. Also, of course, Brendan Carlson, who got cut as a two-way for the Raptors, is on the 905 squad. So we do have the big man from Utah that shoots the threes, and he'll be playing there. Miles Burns, our draft pick from last year, returns along with Kevin O'Banner. These are the two players for continuity from last year's team under Eric Curry. And I expect good things from Miles Burns. Kevin O'Banner's been a solid forward in the last year for the 905, and I hope to see that again. Of course, he played Summer League for New Orleans, and I thought we had lost him, but we still had his rights, and he decided to come back and play for 905 once again this year. That's fantastic. Miles Burns, if you can make some jumps and fundamentals with how you play, the athleticism's there. And I could see you being, something else. It's just you got to take the next leap as far as buckling down on your fundamentals and being an efficient player. I'm sad that Amari Moore was not retained and brought back, but he is already over in Europe playing in EuroLeague at this point. Very interesting team. Dylan Disu from our Summer League is back out of Texas. The forward who got a lot of blocks in Summer League, Quincy Guerriere from Montreal, Canadian content on the team, of course. Kennedy Chandler, who was an add-on before training camp, and he has stuck around. He has some NBA experience, so he's helpful in that way. So, yeah, Evan Gilliard, very interesting to see the Missouri guard, 5'10", 26 years old, has made the team. I was surprised about that also, Monique. Very surprised. Good call. Mo saying that apparently Real Sports has the Vince Carter jersey retirement banner, but did you see the price? No comment, really. Mo, that link that you shared in the Facebook chat, I can't see it because I'm not in that group, and it's a private group, so I did not see the banner or the price. I don't know how much it was. I'm sure it was like $1,000 or something like that. Crazy. That's interesting that they're selling facsimile banners of the Vince Carter retirement banner. This is kind of weird, actually, that they're doing this. I don't like that they're doing this, actually. In some ways, don't put it past MLSE to try and make a money grab on anything possible. In some ways, it waters down the importance of that banner in the building if there's a bunch of mini banners that look just like it that people can put up at their house. I've never heard of this happening before. Like, did other teams do this before with other people's jersey banners and sell them to the public? In some ways, I don't really like this at all because it may be a nice banner and people want to have their own version, but it kind of is like the banner is in the arena and there should only be one of them is kind of how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. But hey, any money grab that MLSC can do in this kind of way, they'll do it. They'll do it, obviously. Most saying, let's go WNBA Toronto. Yeah, let's go. I am just interested. I know I'm really, this is the thing that's going to be really hard about what they're doing right now is keeping this under wraps and a secret. Because if this information is out there, you know how crazy it is with the internet and people not really fulfilling like secrecy. They have to guard the results of Survivor for like 6 months because they filmed the show on the island and then everybody has to shut up and not say anything about what happened on the show. And there's non-disclosure agreements. And well, there's definitely that going on with the people who have worked on the WNBA concept for our team. Because there's somebody out there that knows our team's name and knows what the colors are and knows what the jerseys are probably going to look like, but they cannot say anything. And that that really is a proprietary thing that they are guarding the secret so that it can come out. It's the kind of thing where if somebody did leak this stuff out to the public, they could get very much sued by Kilmer Group, Teresa Resch, and Larry Tenenbaum. So yeah, I'm excited. Let's go WNBA. Let's go to the WNBA games when they're in Toronto in 2026. I'm all about it, Monique. That's right. We're gonna have a long summer once the WNBA shows up. It'll make my off-season schedule so much nicer. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of the off-season clips that we do, like a Thursday Think Tank, Wow Wednesday. All that stuff is going to be a lot less occurring. Like a Friday Freakout like today will be a rare occurrence at sometimes. But yeah, we're freaking out today because of the WNBA and the Raptors 905. That's right. Cowboy is here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Dap. Let's go 905. What time and what team? Preseason, I'm guessing. It's not preseason. They don't technically have a preseason for the G League. It's going to be a real game that counts, and it's against the Delaware Bluecoats, which is the Philadelphia G League team, and it is in Delaware. It's not here. The Raptors 905 will start their season on the road, and they'll play a bunch of games on the road before they actually have their home opener at Paramount Fine Food Center. So 6 p.m. Eastern time is the start, and that lines up real nice to be over before the Clippers game starts in California. So there's your answers there, Cowboy. Let's see. Cowboy saying tomorrow is going to be epic. Raptors beat the Clippers. 9:05 starts, and we find out the name of the Toronto WNBA team. Let's fucking go, Toronto. Yeah. We're going to have to wait on the WNBA thing. They're saying that they will not release the name until January. So that's the news I found out this week, just so you guys know. So we're not going to find out right away. We got to, it's going to be a late Christmas present. That's right. 10-4 from Kaz on the road. TJIF, Kaz, and I know you got to drive on the road today, but tomorrow you're off the road. That's right. There you go. Kaz saying, good morning, Cowboy and Lex and the Raptor Freaks. Good morning to you, Kaz. Drive safely, please. Kareem saying, is Battle with the team in LA? I really want him to have a breakout game before he's assigned to the 905. You know, his games have been fine. I don't know what you mean for a breakout game. You want him to get like a 20 or something like that, Kareem? Is that what you're thinking? I think that this is what's going to happen. Jamison Battle will not be with the 905 to start the season because he's needed tomorrow night in LA to play against the Clippers. You know, we're going to find out the news about Mobo and Jacoby about the injuries they suffered in the last Raptors game. And it could very well be that Jamison Battle needs to be available in the Toronto Raptors team because we need enough live bodies to show up and legally play the game. You know, this is a rule that the NBA has, and we had to use replacement players during the COVID year because of getting COVID, where you have to have at least, I think it's 8 players to be able to play in an NBA game. If you do not have 8 players on your roster to show up, you forfeit the game. So you really have to have replacement players or some sort of use of your 2 ways in your G League people and calling them up to get around this. So because we don't know for sure if IQ's back and because it's very questionable about Mobo, and I'm going to tell you right now, Walter will be out. Mobo could be back tomorrow night, but Walter is definitely going to be out this weekend. And Scotty's definitely out. Bruce Brown's definitely out. And Kelly's definitely out. IQ could be back. We need to make sure the math is enough so that we have a amount that we can play the game. So Jamison Battle ain't coming back until they come back. He's probably going to do the road trip just normal with them, play in the LA games, play in the Milwaukee game on Tuesday, our first in-season tournament game. And then they'll be back in Toronto on Wednesday. And that will be when he joins the 905. And hopefully we'll have a more healthy kind of team around it. So he's got at least 3 more games with the Raptors before he has to show up for 905. Now, of course, the proximity of Mississauga to Toronto allows for him to do double duty. And if the teams are in the same place at the same time, don't be surprised if people like Battle and Mobo are doing double duty and playing in the 905 game and the Raptors games on the same day. Yeah, we can see that. We're going to see that. That's right. I see that. Cowboys saying the 905 is going to be a juggernaut. I really hope so, because honestly, we need to see the rays of sunshine coming from the development down there. That's where it all starts. Just like a jump shot starts at the bottom of your feet and the energy comes up through your knees and through your legs, up through your arms into your shot and your follow through. Well, that energy and momentum for us being good in the future for our main squad is coming from that 905 team. And they start tomorrow. And we'll see, hopefully, excellence on that level this year that can be graduated up to the main roster, just like the Fred VanVleet effect and Norman Powell and DeLon Wright and Jakob Poeltl when they were G Leaguers. That's what I want to see right there. 2 more months. Yeah, we won't find out about WNBA for 2 more months. Brian is here. Good to see To The Points. Brian, King Brian, what is going on this morning, man? What's up, Freak Nation? Dap, nice to know Shed is leading the rookies with 40 assists. These rookies are looking good. Yeah, they have a rookie ranking out that is just disregarding the Raptors. There's a top 5 from official NBA, but then there's a lot of other like graphics that are getting floated around. In fact, let me do the Instagram stories. We'll talk about one of them real quick. There's a graphic floating around that's showing the true stats of the Raptors with the rookies, and we're up there. We're up there. All right, let's start it off. We got Jay Nathan getting helped off the court, and with Ulrich Shamshay celebrating that on his Instagram. He's also got one of Chris's posts he reposted. A lot of the Raptors are reposting their teammates' stuff right now. He's reposting a Davion Mitchell post. And then there's a friend of his who's on a team. I think he's on the Rip City remix. I'm not sure who that is, though. It's just a friend of Shamshay's. It's probably a guy from Africa. Emmanuel quickly celebrating the Ravens' victory. How's the fam? The Ravens won by 1 point over the Bengals, I guess, on Thursday Night Football. So Emmanuel and Scotty, very happy for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore team in the NFL. Miles Burns is threatening us with a mixtape or an album. He say, y'all been working on some music, might be dropping it soon, episode soon. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think this is fire? Or there were good, fam? Or hurry up and drop this? I don't know. Miles wants feedback, guys. Go and hit the poll and let him know whether you want to hear his album that he's making. I don't know if he's rapping or he made the music, he produced it. I don't know. I'm very curious. In some ways, I want to see what Miles Burns has been concocting musically. Jay Nathan, this is what we're talking about. He's reposted Chris Boucher's post and also Davion Mitchell's post. And then he's got the rookie rankings that I was talking about. And this is why I wanted to talk about it. Somebody has put it together with efficiency and minutes played. And Jonathan Mobo is one of the most efficient rookies this year so far. For his minutes played, his PER, his PER is really, really high because he's collecting so many different stats. So he's actually on this list. Two of the Raptors are in the top 6. Jamal Shed is number 4, and Jonathan Mobo is number 6. So right now on this list, it's Alex Sarr and Bub Carrington of the Wizards, the top 2 most productive rookies so far this year. Then Yves Missy, then Jamal Shed, then Rizacker, the other top pick, and then Jonathan Mobo. And Mobo's just above Zach Edey on this chart. And we know Zach Edey's had some very successful games so far in his very early career on the Grizzlies. So this is fantastic. And Jonathan's showing that he's in there and he's on that list. I mean, it's fantastic. It's so good. Some of the other players like Keyshawn George of the Washington Wizards was not efficient, like not a very efficient player with what he was doing. So there's maybe not the official NBA rookie rankings or recognized in the Raptors, but the stats don't lie. In other places, you look at the list, you're going to see Jonathan Mobo and Jamal Shed up near the top. And that's awesome. There it is. The game is tomorrow, soon. 9:05 versus the Delaware Bluecoats, Saturday, November the 9th at 6 p.m. And you'll be able to watch it on YouTube. And we'll be in the YouTube chat so you guys can hang out and talk to us during the game through the chat. And who knows, Bluecoats fans might be in there also. And maybe we'll have a little rumble, a verbal rumble in the chat with the fans of the Sixers G League team. That happens sometimes when we watch the Raptor Freaks watch the G League games on YouTube. Sometimes the other team shows up and we have a little bit of a back and forth. It's mostly friendly and harmless and not very mean-spirited, but there is a little bit of trash talk, and it's fun. Yeah, they're celebrating Fred VanVleet. Once again, I want to talk more about Fred. Fred talks about how since he left Toronto and more time has passed since the championship year, he realizes just how special 2019 was, that with more time going by, that year was just so amazing and a badass, and he's bona fide. There's a lot of NBA players that are great that never, ever won a ring. And that's something that people need to realize. And they also got to realize how hard it is to get to that point in a league like the NBA. So in some ways, Fred cherishes more and more the championship with the Raptors because he sees just how hard it is, after that, whether it was on the Raptors and how we struggled in the years after the championship or it's on the young Rockets and what he's trying to do there. So, yeah, he had a pretty good game last game, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, and he had some big-time shots to help them win their game. There's a picture of DJ Carton on the Raptors 905 also. Jamal Shed's got Chris Boucher post reposted on there. He's got a Jonathan Mobo post reposted. It's Jonathan with LeBron. And then he's also celebrating the Texas Longhorns football team. Scotty Barnes is celebrating Jack Armstrong and Google Pixel ads on his Instagram stories right now, and how you can fix different pictures with all kinds of different tools on the Google Pixel, like taking people out of pictures, putting people in, all kinds of stuff. There was one little effect, it was kind of cool, where you can take a picture with everybody in it. Somebody's got to take the picture, right? Well, you can take a picture of the group, and then you can jump in to have another person take the picture. And if everybody's in mostly the same place, they'll just superimpose the person who took the original picture, and it won't even be like they were out of the picture. So there's some very interesting technology with the Google Pixel. And I don't mean to be an ad for a big, huge telecommunications company like Google, but it does seem like cool stuff. There's a really hard picture on Norman Powell's Instagram stories. They played the Clippers. The Clippers played the Sixers the other night, and they beat the Sixers' ass. Paul George got booed, and Nick Nurse took another loss. And this picture is so awesome. It's like Norman Powell shooting right near the Sixers bench, and you see Nick Nurse all sad and butthole facey, and Norman's got the fall through, and the ball is going through the bottom of the net. It's just such a hard picture. It's just a pic that goes hard. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I don't know. You're posting this, Norman. Is there any kind of statement about your former coach in any kind of way? I don't know. In some ways, Nick was a championship coach. Some people really talk a lot about how much they love him, like Kyle Lowry. But a lot of the players don't really go effusive in a positive way about Coach Nurse, because it's probably like he is an asshole. He's a very good coach, but he's also an asshole. Yeah. Let's see. Norman's celebrating somebody wearing his jersey, and Steph Curry for playing so long. And some guys making fun of Norman walking with bow legs and kind of all crazy on his ankles. And it is true. Norman's kind of walked like that his whole career. But yeah, he's like, you got to chill, man. Be nice. Oh, it's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, and they're on a quick trip to Sacramento. Of course, tonight the Clippers will play the Kings in Sacramento. DeMar DeRozan versus Norman Powell. And then they will come back, and we will play the Clippers in their arena tomorrow night. So they're on a back-to-back. Let's see if DeMar and the Kings can do a solid for us and kind of soften up James Harden and the Clippers for us before we play them tomorrow night in their arena. So, yeah, that's what's up. They're on a quick road trip to Sacramento. Jacoby Walters got highlights of Jonathan Mobo put on blast. He's reposted his stuff, and Slim Ducks and Davion Mitchell. So there's a lot of reposting of each other's Raptor stuff. Let's see. Davion's got RJ in the interview after the game. And what is he saying? He's saying, what do you think of Davion's game today? I think he got a little more emotional coming back, and he wanted to kill the Kings, is what RJ said, that he got up for the game to playing against his former team, the Sacramento. So was that energy definitely with Davion Mitchell, and the results and the way he played showed with how much his stats looked really, really good. There's the rookie ladder, and they've got Zach Edey on top of it. Zach Edey's putting that up. That's not true, Zach. You're not the number one rookie in the NBA right now. You looked really good, but these are power rankings, and this is just experts kind of inflecting what they think, and it's not necessarily the truth of things. And Lloyd has posted Jonathan, his friend Jonathan, with LeBron in that picture also. That's the Instagram stories for today. Yeah, Freddie. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Freddie some more real quick. It's really, really good. Yeah, Brian's saying, what's up, Freak Nation? Nice to know Shed is leading the rookies with 40 assists. These rookies are looking good. That's for sure. And even if the NBA doesn't pay attention or notice them, it's not going to stop them from getting better and better as an NBA players, and them rising up and being better and better players over time coming up. They're going to recognize them at some point. They're going to have to. Kareem saying, does Mobo stay in the big squad until Kelly is healthy? I don't know. That's a good question. That makes sense logically, that if Kelly's out, we need a backup big. And Jonathan's been doing that for us. It doesn't make any sense to send him down if we're weak at the front. Or does it? Maybe it does make sense. I don't know. They're probably likely to keep him up on the big level until some of the guys come back. But we'll see. Mobo does need 905. And in some ways, I want to see him go down there and absolutely dominate. Because, he could have a kind of – because his energy is so unparalleled right now. And his nose for the ball is really good. He could be like Boucher when Boucher was in the G League. He didn't belong down there. He dominated. He was the defensive player of the year and the MVP of the G League. And it was really because he hustled like crazy. And he was so good in transition, running the ball back and jamming it on the other teams. So I could see Mobo. I don't know if he'll be like the offensive player that Chris was in G League, but he could be like very much even on a whole other level down there, and more Scotty-like. He's already Scotty-like, but even more Scotty-like down there with the totals for his stuff that he does down there. Yeah. Cowboys saying Masai killed this draft. I agree. Bryce is saying, good morning, Lex and Rat Freaks. Good morning to you, Bryce, down in this great state of Kentucky. I hope you're doing very well, Bryce, or thinking about you. Let's see. Cowboys saying, I seen that Wemby has more rebounds than 3 NBA teams. Philly is one of them. That's funny. I didn't realize that. That's pretty interesting that stats like that. It's still very interesting that Philadelphia has only one victory this year so far. That's crazy. Let's see. Cream saying, I'm upset with you, Lex. I was so amped up to find out the name. Now we got to wait until after Christmas. I was going to throw you an alley oop, but I'm taking this one for myself. You know what? And I'll respect that. I'll go ahead and give you an alley oop for being upset with me. I know I teased it that I was going to let you guys know, but I don't know. I don't want a lawsuit from them because I revealed the name of the team before they wanted it to be out. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a 5-pointer. You're at 430 now. 430 for Kareem on there. Thank you for putting up with my tease. But at least you know the parameters of what's going on. So you did get information about it. I'm sorry, it's just not now. It's soon though. Soon. We'll find out in about 2 months. That's right. That's funny that he's mad at me for that. Cowboys saying Shamshay, let's go. That's right. Abaji, okay. Brian saying, not to mention Mobo leading rookies with steals per game. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our rookies are doing very well. The argument from the other side will be, well, it's the Raptors and you guys suck. And of course, there's nobody playing. And of course, their stats are going to look good because they're getting playing time and rotation. And on better teams, some of the rookies, if they're underwhelming, they're not beating out vets that are playing for teams that are playing with higher level and stuff like that. There's going to be all kinds of arguments for why they will disregard and discredit the achievements of our Toronto Raptors rookie class. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's right. Kaz is saying facts, Lex. Ticket prices are ridiculous. They really are. And, people are smart. They know this year's a down year for winning. And in some ways, Raptor fans don't want to go to the game if they feel like the team is going to lose. So what happens is knowledgeable fans that know about the team and what they're doing, they're like, I don't want to go because I know they're going to lose to this team. So then you have effects like the Lakers fans take over the building because they just want to see LeBron. The Serbian fans take over the building because they just want to see Jokic. And what happens is all the leftover tickets that get sold, they get sold to corporate types that have no real care about the team. They're going to use it for a business meeting or to schmooze a client, that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have people that are first-time Raptors good game goers that don't really know anything about the team, and they don't really care if they win or not. And they're just like, I'm going to go to a Raptors game because I've always wanted to go. And they're showing up, and they're casuals, obviously, and they have no idea about anything. So this is why this effect is happening that Mike Roach is so upset about, is because the real fans, the knowledgeable fans, understand this is a rebuilding year, and they don't want to pay the regular ticket prices that are jacked up for a team that is most likely going to lose when they show up. So it's a perfect storm of different things. In some ways, that's part of the reason why, once again, they got to amp up the ticket sales by having Purple Nights with Vince Carter retirement and alumni events and stuff like that. In some ways, those kind of games will attract people to come in and buy the tickets. But average games, Joe Schmo games, well, a lot of people aren't going to pay the prices that they've set for their tickets at this point. Yeah, Kareem saying not only did Masai kill it in the draft with Mobo, Shed Ulrich, but I also believe he found gems in Battle and Carlson. Not to mention Flip McDaniels for Davion, not getting and getting Oshai, fucking cooking. Yeah, pay attention closer. People that have a problem with our front office. Yeah, people that are on Twitter saying stupid ass shit. Like, what have you accomplished in the basketball world, Molly? Like, what do you know? Be able to say like critiques that you do with this and that and this with Darko and Masai and stuff like that. You don't know what you're talking about, is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, these guys have done an excellent job. And the Jalen McDaniels trade is one of those kind of trades like the Rudy Gay trade. It was with Sacramento once again, where you trade one player that's been kind of useless for your team, Rudy Gay, Jalen McDaniels, for like 3 very useful players coming back. And the way that he handled the Sasha situation was like a gangster. So good, Masai. He's like, yeah, no, you want to go back to Greece. We're not paying you shit. We're ripping up this contract, and you're not getting bought out. You just go. You just go. And the Kings, they couldn't do it. For some reason, they couldn't do it with Sasha. So they gave the big, tough task to a big, bad team president, Masai Ujiri, and he took care of it for them. He did. It's kind of like they put the contract out for somebody to take care of this issue with Sasha Venchenkoff and his wanting to leave, and Masai just handled it perfectly. Leverage and just saying like, well, you really want to go? Well, we're not going to pay you. You want to go so bad, you're going to lose time on your career at your age. If you really want to sit out, we own your rights. We don't have to let you go. So either you just like rip up that contract and we won't pay you anything. Boom. All of a sudden, the Raptors have more money on their salary cap, and Sasha gets to go back home to Greece and play in that league over there. Yeah, it all worked out. No, they've been doing a top-notch job, and in some ways they have to because the fire's at their feet in certain ways in the MLSE organization with the changes of ownership and the arrival of Keith Pelly. So in some ways, these are things that Masai's got to show that yeah, we're doing good stuff and we're building towards something very big and positive, and we're doing our part as the front office because they are definitely Kareem saying, I absolutely love Will lose post game, complete breakdown. Sometimes having one person who's insightful rather than having three. Too many cooks in the kitchen just causes stupid debates. Yeah. Yeah. Will lose reaction pod when he was on Raptors Republic before he went to Sportsnet was top notch. I used to listen to it all the time, like 5 or 6 years ago. It was really kind of around like 2017. I was listening to it regularly. So he's doing those again. Well, that's good. In some ways, I'm surprised he's not doing with Alex Wong, but if it's a late night thing and he just wants to go on real quick and say something, that's fantastic. No, he did a good job doing this years ago. So him doing this still at this point, that makes total sense. Makes total sense. Randolph is here. Blessings, beloved Raptor freaks, most informative gang. Be deliberate and intentional about your journey through life. Your purpose is yours to fulfill. Don't allow enemies to detour you. No, that's a very interesting words of wisdom. Be purposeful and deliberate with your life and intentional about your journey through life. Yeah. That's pretty good. Blessing to the Phillips family and all the Raptor Freak families out there. Leo's saying this morning, nothing outside of you has power over you. You decide how you think, feel, and do things in your life. Take full ownership and become free. That's a great word of wisdom for world events this week and stuff like that. It's like, look, a certain extent, you can control what you can control, and what you can't, you can't. And in some ways, you got to just focus on what you can control in your everyday life, which is what you say and do and how you think. And it's up to you whether you want to, go full on into certain areas and things with how you feel. You don't have to. You really don't. Some people want to just wallow and be all upset and get all crazy and stuff like that. That's your choice, but you don't have to do that. In fact, I would say this, stand tall, stand proud, and resist is what I'm saying on that one. How about that? How about that? Because you can have that choice and you can do it too. And there will be a lot of that. Trust me. There will be a lot of that. Fiercey saying, good morning, fam, and happy game day. Yeah, there's no game today, Fiercey. We're not playing today. This is 2 days off. These guys are practicing today, and then they'll play the Clippers tomorrow night. So, yeah, 2 days off. They played on Wednesday. There's no game today whatsoever. We're on a weird off-season schedule day, Friday Freakout. That's right. Isaac's here. Good to see the benevolent Isaac Campbell back in the chat. I missed you, Isaac. I hope you're doing very well. He's holding it down for us in Ottawa, in the nation's capital of Canada. Happy Friday to you, Isaac. Always happy to see you here, my guy. Look at the little dinosaur. That's awesome, man. Yeah. All right, Cowboy, you want to give me an alley-oop for the spreadsheet? You know what? I'll do that just because, it is work that I'm putting in to help inform you guys on what's going on with the team and stuff. I'll just give myself a 5-pointer, 183 for Lex on the dunk sheet at this point, 183. Yeah, all right, for work, I'll take that. And there's Farmer Isaac. That's right. Win, 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 win. Yeah. But tomorrow, we got both the teams playing tomorrow, the first 9:05 game and then the Clippers game right in a row tomorrow. Saying on the Raptors app, they have a mini banner for like $80, a mini banner. So they have the Vince Carter retirement banner on the Raptors app for $80. Well, that seems like a fair price. I was thinking that this thing would be like $1,000 or something like that. I didn't see the post that Mo put out because I'm not a part of that private Raptors group. It could very well be that I tried to post my channel in there and they kept deleting my posts. So I just said, fuck them. I don't want to be in this stupid Raptors generic Facebook group. So I think that's what happened. And that's why I'm not in that group. So Monique, I can't see that link with the banner and the price on there because I'm not in that Facebook group. Let's see. Cowboys saying $80. I'm going to get one for $10 at Dundas and Sherborne. Well, if you find your guy that you got the Vince Carter jersey from, I mean, maybe you can get that. I don't know. We got to see. I mean, in some ways, it's like these guys got a jacket or something, right? Before that's kind of the action for that, isn't it? Isn't that what's happening there? Is that's what it makes sense to me. Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J. The commissioner of fun has shown up. He's on West Coast time because he's over there acclimating with the Raptors on the West Coast time in the Pacific division of the NBA with NLA. So Commissioner J, hope you're having a nice time out in the sunny state of California. He's saying, I will be going to Sixers versus Lakers game tonight to spy on them. Okay, so he's doing a bunch of games. He's going to do 3 games in a row. So he's going to go see the Sixers play LeBron tonight. Nick Nurse and we now hear that Maxi's out. So things are just really difficult for the Sixers. They're going to have a hard time getting it going this season. And it could be very much disappointing failure year because they had just a failure to launch this season with Embiid and George being out. And now Embiid's still not back. He's suspended. And Tyrese Maxey's out now, even though Paul George has come back. Yeah, they're a mess. They're a mess. And in some ways, Nick Nurse is in hell right now. I can tell he's in hell right now. And in some ways, he's probably feeling a little susceptible because we know how finicky some of our Atlantic Division rivals are in their fan bases with how they deal with failure. And somebody, if you had put money that Nick Nurse might be in the hot seat, coach's hot seat this season, I wouldn't have said that that's likely, but it is right now. It is likely. He is in the hot seat. It's kind of crazy, man. Kind of crazy. So, Trevor, have fun at the game. And who do you root for in that game? Like, seriously, I guess maybe you root for LeBron and JJ and them, maybe the home team. I don't root for Philly in that situation. No, I don't. No, I don't. Even though they're the underdog, that's for sure. Stargate saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. My hope is that sometime in the distant or better yet, the near future, that the ownership group of the WNBA team eventually buys out the Raptors from MLSE. I would love that, Stargate. That would be so awesome if Larry Kilmer Group could wrestle them out of there, but it's not likely. It's really, really not likely. And part of the reason is because of the building and the contracts. And, that's building is going to be owned by MLSE no matter what. And the Raptors are going to have to play in that building no matter what. Now, if Kilmer Group builds a new state-of-the-art arena that rivals the Scotiabank Arena and has a better capacity and is better for the NBA, and the NBA likes it, and they'll allow the transfer of sale and them to go there, maybe it could happen. But that building would be for the WNBA team and the NBA team. But I don't think man, I wish that this could be possible, but I don't see how realistic this is. As much as Bell just sold their shares in the ownership of the Raptors and MLSE, they did it for financial reasons. Rodgers is not likely to get into those kind of straits of financial problems. And they will probably just hold on because it's a cash cow. Let's not get it twisted. The Raptors make money. And Rodgers likes to make money. And in some ways, the buying of it, the price might be inflated, and it may be that it's just not feasible. The other thing we got to remember also is Larry's getting up there, and he's part of the reason why he's stepping down from being in the ownership group with the Raptors in the next few years is because he is older. And man, for this to work, he has to orchestrate it and be the person in the center of it all. So I don't know how likely this is, as much as that's a dream come true for me also. Seriously, I would love that, what you're saying. Boss Take is saying Walter needs to go to the G League. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, let's see how long he's out. Hopefully it's maybe just a really quick get back from this shoulder injury. But if he re-injured it like he did in training camp and he's out for another like 2 weeks to a month, that's no good, man. It's really stymieing his rookie progress and getting going in his NBA career. So I wish healing vibes to Jacoby Walter of Baylor. Very much, a lot of them. Get better, my guy, and come on back. We need you back. Stargate saying, my hope is to eventually have the basketball team completely removed from anything related to hockey, even the arena if possible at some time. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's going to take because, what would happen, the alternative is Kilmer Group buys the Raptors and they have to pay a bunch of rent to the MLSE to use the Scotiabank Arena. That's the problem. The building is owned by MLSE also. And they need an NBA level building to the Raptors have to be housed in. There's no way we're going to get in a situation like we were with the Sky Dome ever again. And if the building is the Scotiabank Arena and it's owned by MLSE, that's just really tough to separate. It's really, really tough to separate. In some ways, this was part of the reason why MLSE wanted to get the Raptors under their umbrella, because in some ways, if they're a part of the business, they're not a competition anymore with the Leafs. And they can also kind of like, finagle. And I'm not saying they're doing dirty shit to them on the down low, but they can at least really keep tabs on what the Raptors are doing as far as increasing popularity and being a threat to like the Leafs as far as entertainment dollar expenditures with Torontonians and stuff like that. Let's see. Monique saying follow Coach Drew on Instagram. Yeah, I probably should do that. Probably should do that. All right, Kareem. Trevor wants me to do the classic card of the day. That is a 10-10 water time mark. Let's see. I want to get a more classic one than the ones we've been getting. This is not a classic one, but we'll do it anyway. Oh yeah, this is a great one to do today. All right, y'all. First person to write in the full name of the classic card will get the classic card points. So don't half-ass me. Write the full name. Here we go. Can you see who that is? This may be too easy. All right, can you see who that is? This is a very interesting classic card. I'll make the light go over the ball so it looks like he's got a fireball over it. That's pretty cool. Write it in if you know who it is, and you will get it. You will get it. Let's see. Who is it? Danny Green is right. Smooth Brown Man's going to get it. That is our Raptors champion, Danny Green, in the Philadelphia jersey near the end of his career. Yeah, of course, he's retired now, and Danny is getting more and more into broadcasting. Of course, his degree in the university was in broadcasting. So this is just a natural progression that he is going to be probably a broadcaster around the NBA going forward. So Danny Green is the classic card of the day. It's an easier one, but Smooth has gotten it. Smooth is the Ahmad Rashad of the classic card. So we'll put Danny Green in to the spreadsheet. I'll just input the information. Smooth is the man, and 100 is the number for how he did. Good stuff. Getting our champion, Danny Green, 2019 Toronto Raptors NBA champion. There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, where is the classic card? There we go. Kareem saying, I'm not the type of person to laugh at players' injuries, but what's happening in Philly is music to my ears. Yeah, I don't know if it has anything to do with Nick Nurse overusing them last year. I don't know if it has anything to do with, Paul George bringing those kind of vibes from Clippers to their franchise as far as, hey, you know what we do in LA? We sit in street clothes on the bench. Kawhi and James and I, we did this all the time. It's fun. Maybe you should try it, Tyrese. Yeah, you go sit on street clothes in the middle of games, stuff like that. It is what it is. There's going to be a certain amount of injuries for every NBA team every year. And, you want to weather the storm by having durable players and a nice roster that's deep so that you don't take so many hits of quality in your play. This is part of the problem with this new salary cap structure is you have so much money tied into a handful of players at the top of your salary structure that when they're out, you can't really have like this crazy team with all these superstars that come in over because it's just not feasible anymore. The way it's been built. And so when you lose players like right now, we're going through it too, because honestly, Scotty and IQ are two of our highest paid players and they're not on the court. So there's a talent drain. And NBA teams just aren't as good when players like Maxey and Embiid are out or Barnes and Quickly. So it's a really tough, health is going to be a big determinant on which teams do really well in this league because of the new salary cap rules and the aprons and stuff like that. You lose like one of your top players, top three players, that hurts your team bad, really, really bad. Because in the past, teams like the Lakers could stack like a whole bunch of depth with crazy veterans that are getting certain amounts of money. It's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. And we've seen the Nuggets recently with their skeleton crew around Murray and Jokic. That team is just not the same quality through their rotation as they were 2 years ago when they won the championship. And a lot of it is the salary cap and where on the team. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. Crazy. Monique is saying that the NBA 2K25 rankings are out early. No, Mo. The rankings came out with the game. What happened yesterday is they did the first update. They look at what happens in real life on the court and they give adjustments to the players on their NBA 2K rankings. And what happened yesterday is we found out that a lot of our Raptors have had increases to their rankings on 2K. And let me look at it real quick. RJ Barrett got a +3 added to his. He was an 81 to start the season. He's now an 84 overall as a player. And that's them adjusting to what they're seeing from him on the court. RJ's played such a good level, they raised him up 3 points. Grady, now this is the crazy one. Grady has been risen 6 points on his overall 2K rating. He was 76 Well, he's an 82 as of today, and it is reflective of his excellent, excellent play and steady, steady, steady stuff. They want people to play the game and feel like it's reflecting real life. And well, if they submarine the Raptors with low totals at the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden they see, oh, well, this guy's way better. We got to make Grady better in the game. So they added 6 points to his overall total. So now he's currently an 82 on NBA 2K. Abaji got +3 added to him. So he's 76 now. Davion got +2. And Mobo had a huge jump too. They had him at 69. He's now a 73 in his 2K rating. So Shed, Battle, they also got added on to also. So the Raptors, a lot of their players got an update in the latest update on NBA 2K with their overall ratings going up. And that's really good, especially Grady. Holy crap, 6 poll points increased on his NBA 2K ratings in the last 24 hours. It's very, very good. Very, very good. So they'll do these updates periodically throughout the whole entire season. They'll come in and say, oh, well, this guy's low, or even will take some points away from players who are not playing very well. And Scotty said this when he saw his rating on that little clip that they did where they were guessing who the players were on the little boards. Who's this 2K player from the ratings? And he said, my rating's too low. And by the end of this year, I'm going to raise it up even higher. I think his is like 80 something, almost 90, something like that, Scotty's. And that's one of his goals. A byproduct of him playing so well at an all NBA level is that his 2K rating goes up, is what's going to happen. Yeah. Seymour saying, what happened in Philly? What hasn't happened in Philly? Well, they started the season with Embiid hurt right off the bat, and Paul George also. They've started the season losing a lot. They lost to us. They're one of the wins that we got. They've only won one game, and now Paul George is now out for almost a month. Joel pushed a reporter last week, and now he's suspended for 3 games on top of him coming back from the injury. So, yeah, it's really crazy what's going on in Philly. It's a dumpster fire. Who would have guessed it? Who would have thought that they'd have so much adversity? You got to understand, Sixers Nation felt like they were doing good because they stole our coach and they have their big dummy and they got Paul George this summer. And they were like, oh, yeah, this year's going to be even better. No, this year's turning out to be a nightmare so far for the Sixers. And in some ways, there's no signs that things will be better. In some ways, you know, I've talked about this, that Nick Nurse and Joel aren't the closest of friends. In some ways, Joel was like, yeah, I want a new coach. I'm sick of Doc. And yeah, Nick Nurse has beat me before. So yeah, it's easy to sell him on it. But let's not get it twisted. There's no love lost between Embiid and Nurse. They are very much going at each other in the playoffs and stuff. And Nick is just trying to kiss his ass and keep things good with Joel. But if Joel is unhappy and he's not totally like happy in all kinds of different ways in Philadelphia right now, that's big problems for that team. That's huge problems for that team. In some ways, Embiid is showing some of the characteristics that Giannis is showing right now, that he's not that enthusiastic to be a Sixer right at this moment. So yeah, what isn't happening in Philly, Seymour? What isn't happening? What's that? Carlos saying they hate Nick Nurse now. Yeah, that's the other thing. Nick, you got to understand. You thought I was hard on you. You thought that I was crazy about talking about and criticizing you for certain things in your last year. Well, you don't even know the half of it. And I said this when he went to Philadelphia. Good luck with that press. You say good luck with those guys. Good luck with those guys that are going to be asking you questions in the press room. And good luck with those fans that are online and just how toxic and crazy Philadelphia fans are. So, you know, any kind of failure, they get crazy. And they expected big things this year. They're not getting them. And they're feeling the old feelings of Sixers losing and the process and being losers as a tank franchise. And yeah, they get what they get. And I know they hate when I say that too. And yeah, good luck with those guys, Nick, if they can't stay healthy and you're under fire because of this. Your team sucks without those guys. They're really, really bad. And y'all are getting your asses kicked left and right now. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Cowboys saying, I hope you're feeling better to Sheriff. Yeah, because Seymour lost a good friend of his, Rexdale Slim, this week. It's sad, man. He's saying he's good. That's awesome. Kareem saying Maxey is out for a couple of weeks. Nurse running his players to ground zero. Lowry is next. You know, I could tell Lowry's not that happy in Philly either. You know, Nick described him as being moody. He's moody right now. Nick and Kyle are good. We know they're good. They're like birds of a feather, and they really get along. And if there's one thing I know, Kyle's got Nick's back, and Nick's got Kyle's back. But in the chaos of the team that's led by people like Embiid and it could very well be. I'm going to say this right now. Kyle Lowry lost respect for Kawhi Leonard during our championship year because Kawhi was not participating in everything the team did. And in some ways, he was getting special treatment that DeMar and Kyle never tried to get in their whole time when they were together on the Raptors. That's the thing people got to understand. When you stratify yourself above the rest of the team, you kind of make it uneven, and it's more controversial. Yeah, if you're really, really good like LeBron and Kawhi, you can get away with it, and there's reasoning behind it. But overall, it's not a good idea. And DeMar and Kyle knew this the whole time that they were together on the Raptors. That whole entire time, they never were like had an airs to themselves as far as like, we're too good for this practice, or we're too good for this media event, or this thing that everybody else has to go to. If there was something mandatory for the team to go to, Kyle and DeMar showed up and went to it, because that mattered to Kyle. He was like, all for one for all. And this is how we keep the good vibes. We keep the team together. I'm not above anybody else just because I'm one of the franchise faces and one of the main leaders. I'm not opting out just because I might get that option, where LeBron is doing that left and right in his culture in the Lakers, and Kawhi was doing it also. So right around Christmas in 2018, Kyle Lowry started wearing a towel on his head at the end of the bench. Everybody's like wondering, why the hell is Kyle Lowry wearing a towel and sitting at the end of the bench like he's protesting? It was because of Kawhi Leonard and special treatment he was getting from the Raptors franchise, whether it was the load management or him skipping just stuff that team functions were supposed to happen. Well, could we winders this and say, is Paul George on that Kawhi? I'm not going to do a whole bunch of shit with the team like I should, because that is what Kyle Lowry doesn't respect. So I'm already looking the crystal ball right now from the outside in my perceptive skills, and I can see that Kyle Lowry does not get along with Paul George. And that may be one of the underlying problems on that team right now that nobody wants to admit or say anything about. Paul George has a lot of baggage when he comes with him. He is a very acclaimed, he's an NBA player's player, like a comedian's comedian. In some ways, the players love him and they look up to him. But in some ways, he's also kind of a failure. And in some ways, the things that he does with his life to get his results of not winning are very different than the things that Kyle Lowry does with his life that gets him winning. And that's the thing. There may be a very philosophical difference there. And in some ways, Kyle, because he's one of the elder statesmen, Paul George is also. And then you've got the young guys. Well, Embiid's not as young anymore, but Maxey and Embiid. And there's a weird leadership structure there. And it could not be, it could be very undefined. If we know anything about Nick Nurse, he's not totally the best player's coach. He's a great technical coach. He's a great practice coach, but he's not necessarily very good at smoothing over relations with players on the team. And dysfunction can run rife on the under surface because he's not proactive in this way. So I'm going to speculate that this is what's going on with Philadelphia right here. Some of what I just said right there. That's right. Right there. That's right. Let's see. Monique is saying, I posted the Raptors special nights in the Facebook chat, and we always have to bring back Caribbean nights. Yes and yes. No OVO nights. Bye-bye, Drake. You noticed that. I didn't think about that until you just pointed it out, that we aren't doing a welcome to Toronto kind of night. There's no black and gold owl kind of motif this year. It's replaced with the purple and the Vince Carter motif, the Vince Carter logo instead of the owl logo. Well, this is fine. Who knows? Will it bounce back next year? Or will MLSC take my advice and distance themselves from our global ambassador? Because in some ways that would make sense. Of course, Caribbean nights can be back. That's been like the night that's the most fire, the whole entire 82 game schedule. If you're going to go to one Raptors game, go to Caribbean night, because the vibes are off the charts. And that's just a power-packed, very worth it ticket. It's a party, and it's always good scene, and usually the Raptors win. So, yeah, that's awesome. Good eye, Monique, noticing that the OVO games are not on the specialty calendar. Good eye. Mo's on it right now. And the Gilliard stuff and this, man, yeah. Smooth saying, yeah, as much as I like Drake, he can't be using the Raptors to air personal grievances. Tacky. It's wise to move away from him. I think that that's what they found out in that moment on TV. And Drake, man, you may find and things on public broadcasts like that in that kind of way will have repercussions. And they may not be the ones that you want. Yeah, it was very tacky. Very, very tacky. Kareem saying no OVO nights, Mo. Laugh out loud. Always love when Matt and Jack eating a roti and doubles on the live broadcast. Yeah, that's fun. Kayla Gray making fun of them, saying like they're eating doubles. And they're like, honestly, it's the most unprofessional that I've ever heard Matt and Jack ever be. Trying to call the game with their mouth full of food. That's a big no-no in broadcasting. You know, there's been times where I've eaten something while I've been on here, but I always kind of went against my sensibilities because I did radio for a long, long time on FM radio down in Florida. And that's a big no-no that you don't go into the broadcast booth and eat while you're announcing at the same time. So listening to these guys eat the rotis while they were calling the game was uncomfortable for me because it's like you're breaking some cardinal rules for broadcasting, Matt and Jack. But it was hilarious, and it was very much a one-time thing, I would think. Now, if they start giving them alcoholic drinks while they're broadcasting too, that get a little crazy and saucy. In some ways, I've wondered if Matt Devlin has taken psychedelic brownies or something, or maybe he's even like psych capping or something like that. I don't know, because sometimes he's trippy with some of the things he's saying, Matt Devlin, in recent years. But yeah, eating food, drinks, whatever they're doing, just make the announcing smooth and maybe not with garbage like food in your mouth. That's no good. That's no good. Trevor's saying the Kings that I hit out for him, so they gave job to the hitman Masai to get the job done. Oh, Kings had a hit out for dealing with Sasha Venchenkoff, and they let a big time NBA executive Masai Ujiri handle the situation in a ballsy way. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there were promises made by they are not like us, the owner of the Kings, and he didn't have the balls to follow through with it and strong arm Sasha and his agent. Well, Masai did, and he did it very effectively. And it helped our salary cap. And obviously, the Kings made that deal to shed salary cap for themselves. So you got two things. You got Masai seeing a situation, being an opportunist, and helping Sacramento with shedding contract money with Davion Mitchell and Sasha Venchenkoff and that draft pick. And then, boom, we're opportunists. We help them out. They do what they need to do with shedding salary, and we get some good young players to add to our new rebuilding roster. Very, very smart stuff. Very, very, very smart stuff. Boss Take is saying no OVO at center, too. OVO is not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. The OVO is still on the center. That's the thing. In some ways, that's the OVO center, and that's been named that. And they have those are permanent fixtures on the building with the owl, and you see it from the Gardner Parkway down there on the lakeshore, and it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of a beside the medieval times at this point, down by the CNE grounds. I don't know if they'll take that branding away, but you may see less and less of the owl around the team as far as in the backdrop with the interviews, and maybe less and less with the OVO games for the team in the future. But maybe there's a contract that with the brand, because we do have brand that comes clothing that comes out, like the campaign that came out with Morris Peterson, Matt Sundin, and Muggsy Bogues at the beginning of the season. So I don't know. We'll have to see where the contracts are and what they got to exactly do with OVO. It should be still present at some level, but maybe they are phasing it out and slowly and secretly in some ways. We'll have to see. Smooth saying OVO branding is staying. It's a global brand. Yeah, I could see it being a part, but maybe like not so in the forefront. Maybe not so in the forefront. Now we got to also, in some ways we maybe should worry that Drake is going to have a similar thing happen to him like Sean Combs, because it could happen, seriously. And that would be really bad for PR. And the Raptors will definitely want to cut ties with him if there's anything going on like what's happening with Puff Daddy right now. So, there's been some illusions that, well, by Kendrick and his music, but also just rumors about Drake and certain behind the scenes behavior that may not be that, family friendly or looked upon by MLSE. Let's see. Kareem saying, what Torontonian would be a good ambassador after Drake if they decide to move on from the Owl? I guess Superfan Nav. We don't really need anybody like this. In some ways, that position is a position unique to our team. There's not like a global ambassador for most NBA teams, so it's not necessary. In some ways, it's a whole made up thing just for Drake's ego. It's funny because Fred was asked this by Draymond on the episode. He said, "What do you think of this Drake and DeMar thing?" And Fred's like, "This is so unfortunate. These guys are both my friends, and this is just stupid in some ways. I hate this. In some ways, these guys are awesome. I wish they would just patch it up and be friends again. It's really stupid and it's annoying." And then Draymond asked Fred, "Do you think that Drake has any pull to try and stop DeMar from getting his jersey retired?" And Fred stopped and paused for a second. He didn't answer it right away. He said, "Well, it certainly doesn't help in some ways, him being there, but I don't think he does have any power in this in any kind of way." Yeah. But yeah, it was very interesting. And Fred talking about what he thinks about jersey retirements for the Raptors was very interesting also. He said, obviously, DeMar deserves to get his jersey retired with the Raptors because of his many years building it up. And Fred very much said, like I've said on this channel many times before, DeMar DeRozan built the foundation for our championship. That the build up, and he also named things like we went to the Eastern Conference Finals under DeMar. We had 59 season under DeMar. There's all kinds of really great achievements during the DeMar DeRozan period when these anti-DeMar people say, "What did he accomplish? He was a loser." You guys are fucking idiots. He was a winner the whole entire time he was on the Raptors. We were a winning team, and we were going deep in the playoffs. It's just that we were running into a guy named James, and he was putting us out. So the accomplishments of DeMar DeRozan are definitely worthy of the jersey retirement. And Fred said, hands down, he deserves it. He talked about Kyle, and he said, yeah, obviously Kyle deserves it. He mentioned a little bit about Bosch. He said, I feel like Bosch is an important part of the franchise history. He could get his jersey retired. I don't think that's likely, but we'll see. And then, Draymond brought it up about him. And he said, what about you, Freddie? And Fred got a little sentimental. He's kind of like, if they decide they want to retire my jersey, that would mean the world to me and it'd be awesome. But I don't know. There's no telling. Right now, I'm too busy playing. I don't want to get caught up in thinking about that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know I wasn't a starter in the championship year, but I contributed to it. And there were a lot of things that Fred did that absolutely deserve it. He's being modest. But I think that his jersey should be retired by the Raptors. I think number 23 should be up there. But as much as people are fighting against number 10 going up there, they're definitely going to fight against number 23. But I am definitely in the camp that Fred VanVleet, just for the pure amazing success as an undrafted shorter player, deserves it. He really does. And they didn't even mention Siakam at all in the whole discussion about whose jerseys should possibly be up in the rafters for Toronto. It was very, very interesting part of that Draymond conversation. So definitely check it out if you want to hear Fred say it in his own words. Very, very much check it out. It's very, very good. Let's see. Boss Take is charged as saying Nick Nursery. That's right. I love that old name. Nick Nursery, playing around in the nursery. Smooth saying Simon Liu. He's probably a better choice to replace Drake. Oh, Similu? Yeah, I mean, we don't need this. We don't need this. In their very early Raptors years, Samuel L. Jackson was kind of like our celebrity super fan and in prominence. In some ways, that's that whole action, like Spike Lee or Jack Nicholson for the Lakers. That's more the action there. In some ways, Drake is that kind of guy still. It's just that they gave him a real title and actually gave him input on the franchise. And that's the only difference, really. In some ways, we don't need somebody else coming in and being in the replacement of Drake. In some ways, that position was specifically just made for him. And in some ways, we don't really need a predecessor or somebody to come after him. We really don't, guys. So I don't understand why you want to do this. We don't need to replace him, is what I'm saying. You guys are saying, Trevor's saying you missed one of my comments. Trevor, I apologize for that. I see that one. I'm not reading all the comments, just so you know, Trevor. I am skipping comments that I don't feel like worthwhile to read at this point because I have been going long on certain things. Now, I don't see a comment that I skip for you as in screen going through. So if I did miss something very important you want to say, just re-put it in and I'll read it. Cowboy wants Cardinal Official to be the new person. Yeah, but he's already around the team. He's already have his role in it. It's not like he can be on a big prominence like Drake as far as like the artist he isn't as global and huge. And he's already in the fold. He's in the part of our Raptors culture and history. Maestro Fresh West, there's Toronto artists that rep Toronto hard, and they are repping the Raptors on the down low in the shadow of Drake doing the same thing. So I don't think anything changes with that. It's not like Cardinal Official is going to become more worldwide and known around the world, that he has the same kind of notoriety as Drake and able to carry that weight in that way. Once again, I say this is stupid. We don't need to replace Drake. We'll just continue doing. Boss Takes saying none of the people can sell Raptors like Drake. Raptors ain't dumb. Yeah, in some ways that has been a real benefit of Drake's relationship with the Raptors, is that he's enticed some of the players in the league to be more likely to sign with us. That's been a very good added bonus to him, and that's very real. Players said that I'm more interested in coming to Toronto partly because of Drake's involvement. So that's a very real one right there. And then obviously, him being cooler, he was cooler before than this year. This year, his stock dropped in a lot of ways around the world in the eyes of young people and everywhere, partly because of this beef with Kendrick. But in the past, he was attractive to young people getting more into the Raptors and becoming fans of our team also. So when they say ambassador, it's not a fully loaded term. It is a real thing. He's been an ambassador to get players to come play for us. He's been an ambassador for new fans to come and become new Raptors fans. And that's he's been very successful with. And that's why I'm saying Cardinal Official is not going to be able to do the same thing that Drake does on that level. That kind of stuff. So, yeah, look at all the answers. Carlo was second, Kaz was third, Isaac was fourth, and Fiercely put in Green Ranger. Smooth saying, I thought Drake would leverage his relationship with the NBA players into getting more free agents to consider the Raptors. I thought wrong. Well, no, on the download, this has actually been happening. Seriously. One of the things that is a example of this right now is Jamal Shed. In some ways, all right, listen, this is a kid from Houston. This is a kid that played for Kelvin Sampson and had a very high winning percentage in his college career playing for the Houston Cougars. He has no connection to Toronto in any other way except for Drake. Seriously, Jamal Shed is a huge Drake fan, a huge, huge Drake fan. So when we were coming and looking at players that we wanted to get in the draft this summer, well, in some ways we had a foot in the door because Jamal Shed is a huge, huge number one Drake fan. He is his favorite artist, and out of all artists, Jamal loves Drake. He's like a super fan. And in some ways, there was a time before he was even on the Raptors where Drake went to Houston on a concert and Jamal went to the show and he got to meet him backstage and he looked like he was on cloud nine. So let's not get this twisted. This effect is happening, and it's happened this year with our rookie Shed, just so you know. So yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's right. He is actually helping us in this. The people like Kevin Durant, who's very close friends with Drake, it's more likely he would play for Toronto, not just because his favorite player was Vince when he was a kid and he repped the Raptors when he was younger. It's also because he is very close friends with Drake, and it would be attractive to Kevin Durant to play in Toronto, partly because of the proximity to being around Drake. This is an effect that is actually really there. It is actually there. You can think it wasn't, but it is spelled out exactly right in your face. Fiercely saying, run it back Philly titled his last upload they have as a dumpster fire. Well, they're calling it like it is. They're calling it like it is. It's definitely a damn dumpster fire. And you know what? Maybe I should have done my dumpster fire rankings this summer. I didn't do that. I didn't continue. I didn't do the third annual dumpster fire rankings because in some ways I didn't want to put us where we probably should be as far as dumpster fires in this league this year. In some ways, I didn't want to do this anymore. It's like, Lex, you can't do this. Our team has been a dumpster fire at times in the years of ranking dumpster fires. So you're just not doing the dumpster fire rankings anymore. That's an old segment that maybe will come back in the future at some point. But right now, I don't feel any right as a Raptors fan calling other franchises in this league dumpster fires. I just don't have any right in doing that. That's right. Smooth saying Nick Nurse gets no sympathy from me. Yeah, in some ways, that's part of the problem. He's not a very sympathetic person with his team. That's part of the problem. It's really weird. Let's see. Carlos saying, honestly, though, is Nurse getting exposed or just a bad season? All right, this is what we know about Nick Nurse from our very, very close watching him as a Raptors assistant coach for 5 years, also a head coach for 5 years, and now 2 years of Philadelphia now. Nick Nurse got it all set up for him when he jumped in the head coaching job for the Raptors and got a championship his rookie year. That team was a veteran team made up of people like Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol, Kyle Lowry. And in fact, on the Draymond podcast, Baron Davis gave a lot of credit to that Raptors team being so balanced and awesome around Kawhi and stuff like that. So anyway, Nick had a team that was just set up to win, and his success from that is really from what was built before with Casey and the roster and the leadership of Marc Gasol, Kyle Lowry, and Kawhi Leonard and stuff like that. So then we see next year Kawhi leaves, and we have the best record in Raptors history, but it's really kind of the same core, and they have a chip on their shoulders because they want to show that they can do it without Kawhi. And then the pandemic happens, the bubble, and then Tampa, and we draft Scotty, and the confusion of the last couple of years of Nick Nurse and the weird spinning of our wheels. There's no real good evidence there that other than being like an interesting, like tactical coach with like place calling and like philosophies of defense and pillars of aggression, that Nick Nurse is actually like a above average coach in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the knocks of like a great coach back in the day was Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was put on a team with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and won a bunch of championships. Then he went to the Lakers and he had Shaq and Kobe, and he won a bunch of championships there. Now, some people criticize Phil Jackson as being like, well, he wasn't that great of a coach. In some ways, it's the players that did all the work and did those accolades, namely Jordan and Kobe and Shaq, that kind of stuff. So in some ways, there may be a little bit of Phil Jackson effect with Nick Nurse, and it depends on how good his team is that he's putting on the court. That team has no talent and is not doing well. Well, you see what's happening with the Sixers right now without Embiid out there. So, man, in some ways, Nick absolutely needs Joel to help him out. But Joel's flaking out, and he's in a weird place right now, lashing out at the city of Philadelphia and a reporter. And rightfully so. What he said to the reporter in some ways is rightfully so, although he shouldn't have gotten physical with him. He shouldn't have gotten physical. So, yeah, there you go. I don't know. Nick Nurse, well, this is what I'm saying. Like, in some ways, if he has the keys to a really fast car, he can drive fast. But if he's driving a car that is got a 4-cylinder and he's trying to catch up, well, he's not going to drive fast then, right? Do you get that analogy? There you go. Alley-oop to Smooth. For what? Oh, because he has no sympathy for Nick Nurse. We'll skip that one. Let's go, Grady. Keep spraying. Okay. That sounds crazy. Stargate saying Smooth. Do you mean Similu? Yeah, that's who he means. I just don't think it's that necessary. We've got a lot of different super fans and people that are involved in our organization. There's Nav, there's Monique, there's the Raptor Freak family, there's celebrities that are involved in the team too. There's Bianca Andreescu, the tennis player who's from around here. She's a big Raptors fan. There's a lot of different people that can be a part of it. And in some ways, the whole part of it isn't replacing Drake. It's just maybe fading him back into the hedge a bit more like Homer Simpson. Just like fade him back out of the spotlight and go away. We're not winning anyway, Drake. You don't want to come to games unless they're special games. So just don't show up. Just don't be involved. Just go concentrate on your music or whatever else you're doing with your life is what I say right there. Yeah, that's what I say right there. That's right. Let's see. Cowboy is saying, if it's later, Raptor Freaks, everyone have a great and safe day. Safe Friday. Thank you, Cowboy. You have a great Friday. Also, TGIF. Smooth saying Sixers fans are crazy, man. They're lunatics. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's crazy fans in every fan base. We have dumb fans here, too. Man, some of the fans are so dumb. Like some of the things that I hear sometimes are just like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, this world is getting stupider. I really do believe this. Like, they don't invest in education, and we're seeing the results of it. We're seeing the results of it. Also, there is really a lot of like misinformation and lies and false stuff out there that people are believing and reading and thinking that it's real. That's part of the problem too, is that people, they think they're smart, but they actually don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Seriously. Cowboy saying, fuck butthole face, 2-finger salute. All right, I'll do that for Nick Nurse. 2-finger salute for Nick. He's playing the Lakers tonight. That's going to be crazy. Stargate saying it Smooth. I suggested the Weekend the other day because he actually plays ball. Well, have we ever seen the Weekend at Raptors games? Hardly at all. Never. I've never seen him sit. Maybe early in his career he did it a few times, but he really doesn't at this point. I don't know. He may be problematic also. I've followed the Weekend's career in recent years, And I don't know, his motif and what he's trying to accomplish with his style and his image is kind of gruesome and weird. And I don't know if it's family friendly. It's not that Drake is family friendly either. I don't know. I don't know if he's the right one. Once again, I think this is a silly exercise. There's no reason to try and replace Drake. It really isn't. It's a silly exercise, is what I'm saying right now. Seymour saying, how can someone hate DeMar and love Vince? Shaking my head. Well, these are people that are obviously casuals, and they're really dumb. They're really, really dumb. They're not real ones for the team, and they don't understand our history very well. They don't understand how Vince left. And Fred brought that up. Actually, he said that on the Draymond podcast. He said, look, if Vince can leave the way he did from Toronto and it can circle back and get to the point where it is with what happened last week, and obviously the things that happened with DeMar are the other way, with us trading him away and him going into the world of hurt. Well, if he can forgive and circle back and be okay with the Raptors, that's great too. And that's kind of what Freddie was saying in relation to the jersey retirements with Vince Carter, kind of smoothing things over. It's just that a lot of young fans really didn't get the feels of what happened with Vince to understand this. There's a reason why there's older Raptors fans that just absolutely hate Vince and always will. You can talk to somebody, and if they're around my age, they can be, yeah, I remember when this happened, and it was not a good time. And the fans, all they see, the younger fans, all they see is the dunk highlights. And they're like, why do people hate him so much? I don't get it. Well, get in a time machine and go back to 2004 and feel the feels of a Raptor fan at that time, and you will understand it much better. Yeah, I don't get it either, Seymour. It's weird, man. Fiercely saying Matt was calling Yak Valanciunas instead of at one games. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Yeah, I'm worried about Matt Devlin at times. He hurt his foot last year, dropping a weight on it in the summer, and we know he was on pain pills last year. And at some points in the broadcast, he was a little loopy, a little bit out there. But listen, everybody can't be perfect. And the amount of how much he talks on all the games throughout the season, there's going to be a mistake here and there. So you can't fault him. And sometimes the human brain's weird. It does a little brain fart, and you just say the wrong name. And that's all that was. He's so good and so professional. You got to allow him a couple of just little flubs here and there. I look at it the same way with me. I'm doing so many hours every day. There's going to be times where I misspeak names by accident or stats or something like that. We can't all be perfect. We're human beings. And that's just how it is. That's the way I look at it right there. Yeah, Seymour saying I'm late. And welcome to the party, Sheriff. There you go. Casual fan. Eye candy. Okay. Stargate saying, I like Matt. Don't get me wrong, but I'll always have a special place in my heart for Chuck Swirsky. Yeah. And it's okay to like both of them. We've had Matt Devlin longer than Chuck now. He's been the voice of the Raptors for a longer tenure in the 30 years, 17 years of Matt Devlin. And we really only got let's see, it was really kind of like 98 to, it was only about 10 years of Chuck Swirsky, because Chuck Swirsky wasn't with us right at the beginning. He showed up about 4 years into the Raptors' existence, and then he had to leave because of the family issues and stuff like that and went to Chicago. But, a lot of the Raptors lore and calls, the salami and cheese, onions, baby, onions, these calls, Air Canada calls, all the stuff with Vince Carter is Chuck. And it has its place in the history of the vintage Raptors and all that kind of stuff. And it's great to see Chuck Swirsky circle back and be a part of our celebration of the 30-year anniversary. So yeah, it's all right. We can like both of them, and they're different in certain ways. And I didn't really like Matt at first because I loved Chuck, and it was how change is. People got to get used to it. And Matt Devlin has really just won me over. And I'm so glad he's called so many of the more important moments of the Raptors history in the last 17 years. In some ways, he is the iconic voice of the Raptors, but Chuck Swirsky is a throwback iconic voice for our team. We can have both. We can have both. Monique saying Neil's donations has my mom caught my bombs by surprise, Fiercey, HC, etc. Amazing stuff by the Raptor Freak family supporting Superfan Mo on her GoFundMe page for her new wheelchair. You guys are so amazing. I'm really proud about this. I'm proud about Media Day and what y'all did that day in the chat, and I'm proud of how we reacted to helping out Monique and helping her get to her goal to help her in this. This is a huge thing. You guys are so amazing and caring and benevolent, and I appreciate what y'all did, man. I appreciate what you did. Yeah, PK's here, and he's saying LBJ2. LBJ2? Are you talking about LeBronny James? Is that who you're talking about? LBJ too. That's Bronny James, right? Yeah, he's gotten assigned to the South Bay Lakers. And yeah, they're saying that Coloco has been activated and they've been playing him. Is there a chance that the Raptors will have to play Christian Coloco on Sunday when we're in Crypto Arena against the Lakers on Sunday? Maybe we will see Coloco versus the Raptors this year. We'll have to see. I have to go monitor and see exactly how much Coloco has done since he's been cleared by the panel to play, fitness to play. We'll have to see. Seymour saying, if Buddy stops the retirement of DeMar, I would not be surprised. Some people really run the world from behind closed doors. I honestly, this is why Fred didn't really answer this question when Draymond asked him, is because honestly, Drake has no power over this. Don't get it twisted. Drake has absolutely no power over this. Now, Fred did want to take the opportunity to just call what I just said because he's friends with Drake still, and he doesn't want to piss Drake off like DeMar has and say, oh, yeah, well, Drake's actually not really got any power, which is what Fred could have done. But he said, well, he was very tactful. He said, well, it certainly doesn't help things, is what he said. But that doesn't mean that Drake has any power in this. Don't get it twisted. In some ways, the MLSE may have talked to Drake after what he said on the broadcast and said, don't ever do something like that again. We're not going to invite you back if you're going to be like that on the air. They may have said something to him, seriously. So, let's not get it twisted. Drake is not a paid employee by the Raptors. He does what he does out of pure passion and love for the team. Now, on the same token, the Raptors don't owe him jack shit. Maybe they owe him licensing fees for using the owl, but they don't owe him the right to make the decision about the retirement of DeMar DeRozan's jersey. So, yeah, it's not nothing to do like that. Nothing to do like that. I don't think so. Most saying W Stream, W Vibes, go Raptors for life. Keep at it always, Lex. Raptor Freak Cruise, strong forever. Nice to well, we didn't have a preview or a reaction. So we go back to the Friday Freakout format, and we're freaking out about 9:05 start tomorrow. And the WNBA team logo and name has been delayed before we can find out. So we're a little bit freaking out about that too. Thank you for the cutoff, Mo. You are my producer, and I appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Cream saying, so are we going to get a Lowry DeRozan statue? I wonder what statue they would put up first in the future. I'm scared of getting statues after seeing Dwayne Wade's statue. In some ways, I don't even know if we should get a statue. In some ways, this is what I wanted all along. I've said this very much in the past. We should have just gave a statue to Vince and forget about the jersey retirement. In some ways, I didn't think the jersey retirement was apropos to the situation with Vince Carter and the acrimony behind his exit. But I felt like it's important to honor him for the Air Canada effect in his dunk competition. So why didn't we just give him a statue instead and put it outside? But no, instead we're going to do this. Now, where are they going to turn around and give him a statue also? I feel like that's overkill. Like, really? Are we really going to kiss Vince's ass this much that we're going to do everything? Because in some ways, he told us the logo was enough. I don't know. I don't want to see a Vince Carter statue necessarily. I do want to see a Kyle Lowry one, though. I do. And I think that would be apropos. Now, I don't know if we see a DeMar DeRozan statue, though. See, that's the thing. You got to make it very special. And if the GROAT is the GROAT, well, the GROAT should get a statue. Kyle Lowry should, but maybe not his friend. But it could be a very nice thing to put them together on a statue to commemorate their very strong friendship and what they were on this team. So I like that idea. I don't know if it's feasible. And I also don't know, like, if there actually are Raptor statues in the future coming up. Seriously. I mean, there should be because there's so many Leaf statues out there at Jurassic Park. But we'll see. I'm not holding my breath on this. And, it could be the kind of thing where they wait for a statue for Vince of like 10 years from now and say, we retired your jersey 10 years ago, and now we're going to give you a statue now. We'll have to see. Give it some time and figure it all out. We'll have to see. Yeah, let's see. Carlos saying, I know Drake's stock is at an all-time low, but just remember how amazing having a Canadian in the top of the American hip-hop scene, right? No, he's dominant in music industry. He is like an Elvis. He is like a Michael Jackson. He is a guy that sells volumes. He has been like the king in a lot of different ways of his era, just like Michael was in the 80s, just like Elvis was back in the day. So there's no denying that. And yes, but we've got to say on the down low, Canadians have dominated a lot of different really important things, whether it's comedy, You know, we've had a great Canadian comedians that have been at the top of their game, like Jim Carrey, in all kinds of different places. And we've had really good musicians that have dominated also. I mean, The Weeknd, Drake, and Justin Bieber just on their own, Celine Dion, Alanis Morissette. You know, Canadian contributions to music have always been at a high level and a very, very high money making place. So, yeah, he is one of those ones right there. Smooth saying Jamal Shed is already better than Malachi Flynn. Yes. And Malachi Flynn will be playing for the Austin Spurs this year. So he is on the G League team for the Spurs. He's not on a two-way. He's just a straight up G League player this year, just so y'all know. Seymour saying we need wins, not another global mascot. Exactly. Exactly. You know, we don't need this. And in some ways, we may have learned some lessons with our partnership with Drake, the good and the bad and the ugly. That's right. Exactly. That's right. Carlos saying you can only take so much moral victories. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. All right, let me see. I'm going to look at my tabs real quick because there is certain things that I wanted to talk about today that I want to get to. Yeah, more on the Draymond and Fred podcast. This really is the hot item in Raptors world right now, even though Freddie's not on our team anymore. There's a very fun story about his current teammates on the Rockets. First of all, Fred straight up asked Draymond, why do you punch my man in the nuts? Because they're talking about Steven Adams. And Fred's talking about how having Steven Adams on his team is so nice because he's so big and crazy. He's on a carnivore diet. And he sees him on the team playing, eating like huge steaks and just like eating so massive amounts of meat all the time. He says he's literally like a real caveman. And he said, like, if there's any beefs on the court, it's great having Steven around to regulate because he is extremely strong and very nice guy, but he is also very intimidating and is an enforcer type kind of guy. So Freddie relishes having him on the team. And then they talk about his other teammate on the Rockets. And this is why maybe Steven Adams is on the Rockets team, is because of our villain, Dylan Brooks. Yeah, Freddie dished a lot about Dylan Brooks in this Draymond podcast. And it's hilarious, man. The Dylan stuff is so hilarious. Like, in some ways, Fred and Dylan are like a yin and a yang. They're very much opposites. Freddie is very calm, cool, and collected, but very fiery and competitive, where Dylan is a shit talker, and he just doesn't stop talking. Now, Fred revealed that Dylan is like that only on the court. Behind the scenes, he's very normal and a good teammate and a lot of fun to be around. But on the court, he gets into that I'm going to fuck with people and I'm a shit disturber kind of mode. Well, there's some really funny stories in this. In the Draymond podcast, is like, all right, Fred's talking about the first game of preseason last season. They're playing against a team, and Dylan punches Daniel Tice in the nuts. Yeah, and Fred comes over to him. He's like, why did you do that, man? Why did you do that? And Baron Davis is very adamant. He needs to go to jail for punching somebody in the nuts. I'm sorry. If you punch somebody in the nuts, they need to go to jail. So obviously, and Draymond's like, I hate Dylan. I hate Dylan. What's wrong with him, man? And Freddie's like, you know what? I didn't like him either before I came to Houston. But after playing with him, I get him now. And he's totally like, he's like a real good teammate. And he just does this to get the competitive edge on the court, the shit talking and the intensity. So Fred's getting really mad at Dylan for punching Daniel Tice in the nuts. And he's asking him, why did you do that? It's preseason. And why did you do that? And he comes up to him after the game, and Dylan Brooks tells Fred, FIBA. He's like, what? It's like, FIBA, man. I did that as payback for a FIBA game, Germany versus Canada this summer. And Fred's like, oh. And then Draymond's like, okay, now I get it. It's like, yeah, because when we played World Cup, FIBA World Cup, we played Germany, and Daniel Tice did some dirty shit. So Dylan Brooks got the payback against Daniel Tice in the first game of the preseason for the Rockets, and got in big trouble for punching him in the nuts. But that's why. And Draymond goes, I totally get it now, because when I'm in FIBA, I hate France. I absolutely hate France. This is what Draymond's saying on this podcast. I hate France. And obviously he's talking about Big Dummy Gobert and the history that him, Green, and Gobert have from the headlock and all the antics they have. Oh, I get this totally. Daniel Tyson the nuts is because of FIBA basketball. Yeah. So I thought that was such a funny crossing of worlds kind of thing, because obviously we're very much covering the Team Canada stuff, and we saw all those games and covered them on this channel. And well, Dylan was paying receipts on Daniel Tyson the first preseason game, and that Fred found out why. There's often times in games, Freddie said, where he's trying to talk Dylan down. He's trying to get him off his tip and what he's trying to do all the time. Fred kind of hates it. He kind of on the down low. You could tell he's like, I don't like this confusion and this chaos that Dylan Brooks causes. But in some ways, I have to be that person that backs him up no matter what. He said that even though Dylan does stuff I do not agree with, he's my teammate, and I'm all for one for all for the Rockets. So I'm going to stand with him, even if I probably shouldn't, because he's doing something very bad. So it's a weird situation. The Van Vliet Brooks connection on the Rockets. There's a respect and there's a will and want to compete at a high level there, but very different philosophies on how to do it. And obviously, the big, bulky, brawny Steven Adams being around to kind of protect things if things get too crazy is a safeguard for Dylan Brooks. Yeah, Fred talked about when Ime Udoka got in the fight with LeBron James last year, and they're cussing at each other right on the court and yelling at each other. And like Fred gave more kind of an insight to what Coach Udoka is like as their coach. He said the dude will yell at us during the game. He's very intense and he'll yell at us, and he's so mean in the middle of the game, but he doesn't do it at any other time. Like when they're in practice or they're behind the scenes, he's like just a really nice dude. He saves all of his animosity and anger for the players in the middle of the game when he's yelling at them. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, listening to Fred talk and understanding who he is, and he really does have a really good perspective on his whole career and stuff. Obviously, the Toronto stuff's important. And Draymond said, you already got made in a city, in Toronto. And he said, yeah, Toronto is always going to be my home. And it's a very important place to me no matter what happens for the rest of my career. So, yeah, the legacy with Fred VanVleet is complete and intact. And in some ways, people that are anti-Fred, that try and like talk and denounce him or say this stuff, you guys are idiots, because Fred is on good terms with us. And down the road, we will honor him in some form or some way. We will. Trust me, we will. Oh, I'm getting it in 2 hours almost. I got to finish this up real quick. Yeah, let's see. Kaz is saying Ryan Reynolds to replace Drake. Once again, somebody I've never seen at a Raptors game. And honestly, he's just an actor. He's more of a West Coast Canadian. It's not like he's really involved in Toronto affairs or anything like that. So I say no. Big rejection on Ryan Reynolds. Trevor's saying, I'm going to the Peaches and Cream R&B and hip hop throwback party tonight in Beverly Hills. That sounds crazy. That sounds so crazy, man. Trevor, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you're going to the Laker game, and then you're going to a Peaches and Cream R&B hip hop throwback party. Man, they're going to be playing Mark Morrison. Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac. That's right. Trevor's going to come strolling in with some 90s like get up on. It's going to be awesome, man. That's so fun. I mean, he's got that Ric Flair jet flying, high flying, styling and profiling lifestyle, man. That's just how he lives. Kareem saying, Trevor, I imagine to have a life like you. That concert sounds amazing. What's the lineup? I don't know if it's actually a concert. I think it's just a party. Maybe they're just going to have the music and stuff like that. And it's saying it's just a throwback party with old school and new school. For few celebrities will be coming through as guest surprises. Well, Trevor, you definitely need to give us a detailed report on your party tonight. Tomorrow. We want to hear about this, man. Trevor's saying that was funny what Brooks did on Daniel. I saw that game. Yeah. Yeah, that's our villain Dylan. We love him, man. And Freddie loves him too, even though he irks the hell out of him. He does. He does. He's like, he gets him. I mean, Fred could have talked to Chris Boucher about Dylan ahead of time. And like, he probably found out a bit about him from ahead. It's like, yeah, tell me about Dylan, Chris. Oh, Dylan is crazy, but he really cares, man. He's so good, man. He's so good. I mean, I got so much respect for Dylan Brooks, and the way that Baron Davis and Draymond were hating on him too about it was so funny. So funny. All right, let's see. UC saying, I feel like Fred will be worth the max for Houston if they make the playoffs this season. Yeah, a lot of people said the 40 million was just not worth it, but I feel like he's had such a great impact in the winning column for them and growing towards being better and better. And like I said earlier, the lessons he learned from being around Scotty the first 2 years of Scotty's career, he's not making the same mistakes there. So he's approached things with Jalen Green in a totally different way, so that he's like more of a stern leader and vet, and they really got to listen to him in some ways because he's guiding them the right way. And he even said exactly what I was saying about the Rockets last few years. They're just a bunch of kids, athletes that don't know what the fuck they're doing. And when he showed up last year, he really did have to start being the professor and teaching them how to play winning NBA basketball and not just be a very talented, young, athletic team in this NBA. So, yeah, it's a very interesting interview. Highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Fred VanVleet's appearance on Draymond Green's podcast this week. If you're a Raptors fan, watch it because there's a lot of Raptors content in it. A lot of Raptors content in it. He's talking a lot of Raptors. That's right. Fiercely saying that, Trevor, enjoy and don't go to the after party. Maybe he does want to go to the after party. I don't know. The after party can be pretty fun sometimes. W stream, let's go. All right. Thank you, Fiercely. I appreciate that. All right. Let me get through the rest of the tabs. Yeah. There may be some other stories that that they're from that Fred VanVleet interview. Y'all need to watch it and hear it. Freddie's a real one for us, guys, and don't forget it. He's not selling us out. Happy birthday to Germany's Isaac Bonga. Dennis Schroeder and Daniel Tice's teammate is having his birthday today. He's 25 years old today. Happy 25th birthday to Isaac Bonga. He is not in the league at this point. He is playing over in Europe and Germany at this point. So happy birthday to former Raptor, Isaac Bonga. There you go. Let's see what else is going on. We did that, and we don't need to do that. And I think that's that. And we're right at 2 hours. So let's get the hell out of here. Y'all, thanks for watching me today on the Friday Freakout. We won't know the WNBA team name until January. And we'll get the logo and the uniforms and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be able to probably buy apparel and merchandise immediately when it comes out. I think that's the way. But they have submitted their package for the WNBA. There is a name and all that is out there. It's just we won't know until it's released to the public. And tomorrow, 9:05, 6 o'clock, we'll have the preview tomorrow morning, the ref report for both the Clippers game and the Delaware Bluecoats game against the Raptors 9:05. You know how it goes. Ref report, latest lineup news, all the pertinent stuff to get you ready for your Raptors games tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. on the Raptor Freak channel. That's right. Thank you, Juicy. I hope you have a great day. And thank you for spending some time with me this morning on the Raptor Freak channel. I appreciate all the real ones for our team. If you're a real positive fan and you're sick of the noise, you're sick of the toxicness, this is a home for you right here on the Raptor Freak channel. Let's go Raptors and get a double victory tomorrow against the Clippers and the Delaware Bluecoats. Let's go Raptors. TGIF, y'all. Have a great day. Let's go, Nins.